never falter. Came with the hands out, get them off us. I'm 24/7 in the office. Pay attention cause I ain't repeating offers. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at.
All right, what is up, guys? Welcome to the 2023 preview of the New Orleans Saints. Who dat, baby? I'm here, Eric Sonnier, here with my friend Dave Eddy. What's up, man? How you doing?
Listen, man, if we're being honest, I'm just hoping that you don't want to beat me up after I say something bad about the Saints.
It's close. So, just tread lightly.
I will. I'm going to tread lightly.
Before we get started, I'm going to ask everybody to please like and subscribe. I'm going to get my Who Dat Nation to please like and subscribe to the Fantasy Six Pack channel on YouTube. You can become an all-access member of the Fantasy Six Pack to get access to our award-winning rankings, our brand new draft cheat sheets for your fantasy football drafts, DFS projections, betting tools, and other great content. Best of all, you get access to us directly on our Discord channel for your custom advice for your leagues. Go to fantasysixpack.net/plans to sign up today. All right, man, getting started with my New Orleans Saints. We're going to start off with the quarterbacks. We just signed, Derek Carr, man. We had a rough year last year with Andy Dalton. Jameis Winston, he's still sticking around, and we drafted Jake Haener, I think in the third round. So, yeah, a lot of people were curious to think that Derek Carr was going to ball out last year with Devontae Adams. I don't think he did. Devontae Adams had a good year. But I don't know. I think you may be able to chalk that up to, he needed a change of scenery. He's getting that New Orleans. He's got he's got his old coach back. He's got a lot more weapons. He's got a lot better team. What do you expect to get from Carr this year?
I mean, sometimes you have guys who, and this is usually something I talk about in baseball a lot, where, sometimes you'll get guys who are better real life players than fantasy players or vice versa. I think Carr is one of those guys who is a better fantasy quarterback than he is a real life one. And, in the case of what we're discussing here today, that's a great thing, right? Of course, great, maybe not the exact right word here, because I don't think Derek Carr is really a guy that I'm targeting, but, I would say he's surely not a QB1. I don't know that you would run into anyone who would say that he is. Unless something bad were to happen in my, redraft room, I wouldn't be acquiring his services as a QB2 either. There's just too many other guys in that area that I would prefer. Now, I will say that, you could do worse than having Carr as your QB2, but honestly, not a whole lot worse.
Okay. I'll take that. I
mean, he's new to New Orleans, so you can't be too upset. And that's probably the worst thing I'm going to have to say.
New team, new environment. Let's just see. All right, we're going to move on to the running backs. Always been a strong area for the Saints. You got my boy Alvin Kamara, AK. We just signed Jamal Williams off his best season ever. We drafted Kendra Miller. And Benjamin is still there as well. We signed him later on in the year. There's a lot to worry about with Alvin Kamara. I will admit that, even though he is one of my favorites. He got in that fight. He's probably going to get suspended at some point. Not only that, we added Jamal Williams, who, he constantly is vulturing people's touchdowns from, I think he had 17 touchdowns last year, and most of those came from the 1 yard line. And Kendra Miller, we drafted him in the third round. We got to be using him in some way, either it be for the future or now. Benjamin's there as well. With all that being said, what do you think?
Well, this is going to be the opposite of the Derek Carr talk here, because let me start out by saying thank you to everyone that is allowing me to load up on, AK this year in best ball. Routinely going after pick 100, usually after pick like 110. And honestly, I think everyone's crazy for passing up on him. I mean, you look at his, redraft ADP. He's right now the 33 running back going off of boards. I think that is absolutely absurd. I mean, I always say this in NFL DFS, right? Volume is king. And that especially applies at the running back position where, volume honestly can be quite hard to find. 2022, Kamara finished 12th in the league in carries and 5th in the league in targets. That's a top 10 running back to me all day long. So, sure, he's got to deal with, like you said, Williams vulturing some touchdowns. As a Lions fan, I can tell you that when they got, inside the 5, it was just pound the rock with Jamal Williams. That's a really good offensive line, a really good running team. So you're never going to see, a number like 17 touchdowns for Jamal Williams ever again. That was more a product of the system than it was Jamal Williams. But he's still the one who scored those touchdowns. And who knows, maybe the Saints will do the same thing. They get in near the goal line, and it's just a Jamal Williams show. That would obviously hurt some fantasy value for AK, but AK does so much and he gets so much volume that, if he loses out on, let's say, even 3 or 4 touchdowns that maybe he would have normally gotten that Williams gets, I still think that the value that Kamara provides right now is just ridiculous. And if you remember, and I know you do, but once upon a time, Kamara had to share the backfield with a far superior Mark Ingram, and I think he did just fine. So I think Kamara is going to absolutely destroy his ADP value this year. Would not surprise me if he ends up as a top 10 running back. As a matter of fact, I think I'd be more surprised if he finished outside of the top 30 like his ADP is than if he finishes inside the top 10.
All right. Much better than the quarterback conversation. Like that. Won't be mad at you on that one.
Welcome.
All right. Well, let's get back to the wide receivers, which is a group that before, the last couple of years it's been rough for the Saints. So the guy Olave, he came in last year. You got Michael Thomas, who, has been with the Saints for a long time, but, everybody knows what he's been going through with all the injuries. Rashid Shaheed kind of came on the scene last year. Traquan Smith has been with us for a while. He's kind of I don't know. I don't really know what to say about him. A.T. Perry. Yeah, he's just a guy. A.T. Perry, we drafted him late this year. I think he should have gone a little earlier if it wasn't for injury concerns. And, we signed Brian Edwards as well, who, just kind of keeps bouncing around. But Olave came in last year and was just awesome. I mean, he 72 catches, over 1,000 yards. Only had the 4 touchdowns, but, those will come. He's borderline wide receiver 1, but he's definitely an elite wide receiver 2, at least, if not, like you said, the wide receiver 1 option. Nobody's going to argue that. The interesting name here is my boy Michael Thomas. Will he stay healthy? What do you think is going to happen?
Let's start with Olave. Obviously, he's great. I hate that he's an Ohio State Buckeye as a Michigan fan, but it is what it is. No hot takes here. I think that Olave is ranked properly. I'm not higher or lower on him than where everyone is. I think he is properly ranked. So let's talk about Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas was the guy last year that I was loading up with, especially in best ball, and didn't really get me anywhere. This year, now I'm gun shy, and now I'm not taking that risk on Michael Thomas. So that means he's probably going to catch 100 balls this year, right? I know you know this, of course, but it wasn't that long ago, man. Michael Thomas caught 149 balls for over 1,700 yards. One of the best years, we've seen for a wide receiver. But let's be fair. He does not have Drew Brees throwing him the ball anymore. And maybe more importantly, he's only played 10 games over the last 2 years combined. If he's healthy, big if, but if he's healthy, very well could return, wide receiver 2, borderline, but a wide receiver 2 value. And he'd probably be a very great wide receiver 3. And I think that you could draft him in those ranges a lot of times. But like you said, you've got to ask yourself, how much is he going to see the field? Fortunately, that's not a question that you can answer. That's not a question I can answer. Unless you're inside that team facility, I don't think you really have anything other than a wild guess, So I'll just simply put it this way. If you have a high risk tolerance, draft Thomas, make him your wide receiver 3, and hope that it works out. You will look like an absolute genius. If you are risk adverse, remove him from your draft board. And if he burns you, he burns you. I honestly think it's simple as that.
Yeah. Michael Thomas, I don't think a lot of people know that year he broke the catch record. Teddy Bridgewater actually started about 5 or 6 of those games.
Okay. Well,
so, yeah, dude's the man. Next, tight ends. Kind of a strong, weakish group. And I don't know really what to say about it. It's kind of like there's 3 good guys. You got Juwan Johnson. He kind of came on. You can see that he can catch the ball last year. Taysom Hill, the quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, whatever you want to call him. I guess you want to call him a tight end on here. Yeah, and they also signed Foster Moreau. None of these names really jump off the page to you. But, they're still going to put some value out there. How are you approaching this draft, this tight end room?
As a resident Saints fan, I would expect that, you absolutely kind of nailed it here. I think it's a solid group. but just like you said, nobody that stands out. For real life purposes, I think that's absolutely fantastic. You have got 3 guys that roughly bring 3 different skill sets to the table. Now for fantasy, it's an absolute nightmare. You know, Hill and Johnson are both being drafted around, you know, tight end 2 territory. But they're going to be impossible, I think, to trust from week to week if everyone's healthy. You just never know who's going to have, you know, the best game of that group. Plus, you add in Foster Moreau, who proved himself to be one of the best backups in the league with, you know, all the great work he was doing filling in for, you know, Darren Waller when he missed all that time here recently with the Raiders. So I think all of this uncertainty ultimately just leads me to just avoid these guys. I've put a gun to my head and say, Dave, you've got to take one of these guys. You don't have a choice. If you made me pick one, I'm going to take Taysom Hill, and I'm going to do it just because, you know, he can be used in so many more ways than a tight end, like we talked about. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. He can, you know, he can do whatever. He can be a cheerleader if you need him to, you know, help with the pyramid. So you could at any time get a ceiling game out of him. And his ceiling game would absolutely dwarf what, you know, either of the other 2 guys could ever do. So I guess it's Taysom Hill if I had to choose, but ultimately I think it's just a hard pass because I can't trust anyone because nobody stands out.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed that. Taysom Hill and a best ball, you know, that'd be pretty nice. He's going to have those games where he plays quarterback and scores, you know, all kind of touchdowns.
Yeah, unless you've drafted Kyle Pitts and they share the same bye week, and then you got to go.
Right. Yep. But, you know, in conclusion, to wrap up the 2023 New Orleans Saints, can I get that Who Dat Nation? You know, stand up, subscribe to us at the Fantasy Six Pack. You know, we do some good work over there. You know, even give us a like on the notification button so you get alerts when all our other videos come out. One last thing, Who Dat, let's go. Subscribe to the Fantasy Six Pack and please watch our videos. Thank you for watching. See ya.